In this video, I will be discussing spoilers for the FX series Shogun. Please be aware that I will be discussing major plot points of the show throughout this video from this point on. You have been warned. One of the key climactic scenes of the first season of Shogun is Mariko's sacrifice, which not only arguably saves the lives of all of her companions, but is a key inciting incident in Toranaga's future war plans. It is also a bittersweet coda to John and Mariko's love story, where they do not have to address the implications of their second night together, including dealing with the fallout for Mariko's husband and son, and explaining their affair to the broader world. No, instead it is left as the remembrances of a single night known only to a few, but will no doubt serve as whispered gossips or suspicions in the future. However, I believe that it is possible that Mariko is still in fact alive by the end of the season, and I will lay out my reasons why. I understand that this may only be the ravings of someone who is coping with the idea that they don't want the story to end this way. I am fully aware that the simple explanation is that Mariko is dead. And that's that. But if you will indulge my tinfoil hat fantasies for just a moment, I think I can convince myself, and perhaps you, that the simple explanation may not be the truth. Something that we are taught throughout the first season of Shogun is that the simple explanation is not always the correct one. Toranaga is a crafty strategist who at any given moment is sitting on dozens of plans and backup plans. We see throughout the series that things are not always what they seem at first glance, so narratively, at least, the idea of Mariko's death not being what we think is not that crazy. Let me give you two examples of things not appearing like they seem, one that is grounded in the actual text of the show, and another that you can arrive at by reading between the lines. The first is towards the end of the season when Toranaga is presenting to the world that he is going to submit himself to the Council of Regents. He also feigns poor health and a lack of fighting spirit in a manner that is so convincing that his vassals all start to lose faith in him, and his most loyal vassal commits seppuku in protest of his actions. It is so convincing that we, the viewers, may even doubt his plans. But that is part of his plan all along. Secretly, Toranaga is using this ruse while he plots his strategy to fight back. He himself admits this truth to Yabushige before he dies, that he had been planning these outcomes all along. Perhaps not all had gone the way that he expected, but by no means was this a man that was sick and had given up. My second example is not so clear-cut, but I believe could be closer to the truth after some thought. The scene that I refer to is when Mariko presents her blade in front of Toranaga with the implication that she wants permission to kill herself to end her suffering and that he, Toranaga, and her husband are not allowing her to do so. Indeed, we are told that this was Mariko's frequent request to her husband over the years. I too thought that this was what the scene meant. This all changed, though, at the conclusion of the tea ceremony that her husband performed when he finally grants Mariko permission to end her life, and Mariko's response is that even now he doesn't understand Mariko's intentions. You could simply explain this response in that Mariko just detests her husband, and the idea that dying together is simply unappealing to her. I believe this is true, but again, I think that the true answer is somewhere deeper. Mariko is not simply a suicidal person looking for her end. No, I see her as someone who desperately wants her end to serve a greater purpose. Presenting her dagger to Toranaga was not a request to end her life right there, or in the safety of her own home. No, I believe that it was a coded request to accelerate Toranaga's timeline and allow her to move forward with her stage of the plan. Mariko was Toranaga's trusted confidant, someone who was aware of many of his plans and who understood a lot of his intentions quicker than most. She also would have been trusted with some of his deeper long-term planning, including his schemes to free the hostages from the capital. She would have known, ahead of time, that her whole purpose for eventually presenting herself in front of the Council of Regents and then demanding to leave the capital was all in service of that result. She knew all along that she would not be allowed to leave the city, which would require her to threaten seppuku if she would not be allowed to leave. This put Ishida in a bind since he either 1. Allows Mariko to leave, which would give all other hostage families the excuse to leave the capital and remove all of his leverage, or 2. Deny her exit and cause a revolt in the noble houses after Mariko's death served as undeniable proof that all the noble families are hostage. It's a bold and risky gambit, one that Mariko would have been aware of and likely had discussed with Toranaga in a conversation that we do not see in the show. When Toranaga asks Mariko if she is ready for her part of the plan, she is not confused or unsure of what that means. She knows exactly what Toranaga is referring to and acts accordingly. When Mariko presents her dagger in front of Toranaga, I believe this is what she is actually asking for. She is asking to be sent to carry out their plan in the capital ahead of schedule in a way that no one but he would understand. As a result, Toranaga is frustrated and denies her request since his plan is not yet ready. So how does this all go back to Mariko being alive? Well, I believe that it gives a narrative-based justification for the fake-out death. The series teaches you again and again to not just trust what you see, but to look for deeper hidden meanings. Let's examine the evidence for and against. We'll start with the biggest elephant in the room, which is John's reaction to finding her after the explosion. Clearly, John believes that she is dead. We could end the video right here, but I can reject his opinion because it is also shown throughout the series that his medical knowledge is dubious at best. I do not trust him to be able to identify whether Mariko is truly dead. Next is that most characters seem to believe that she is dead. Again, this is something I can explain away with deception, but I want to focus on a few characters' reactions in particular. First is Toranaga. He is wistful and thinks about her poetry, mentioning that all he has is her words now. But it seems like more of an afterthought, or something that he finds oddly amusing. We know that Toranaga has an extensive spy network, so it would not be surprising for him to know something, including Mariko still being alive. Next is Tsuji. We know that he held Mariko in a very high regard, but he also does not seem very upset that she died. When he transports John to the harbor, he is sympathetic and even kind to him, and states to not be afraid because Mariko has absolved herself of her sins before she died. While true, I still believe even a clearly deeply faithful man like Tsuji would be shaken up to some degree by Mariko's passing. To me, he did not appear to be grieving. Perhaps, and again, put your tinfoil hats on with me here, folks, perhaps Mariko did not die in that explosion. Oh, she would have been severely injured, without a doubt. But perhaps she managed to survive and was simply hidden to allow the world to believe that she was dead. The first culprit would be Toranaga himself. He has the most to gain from Mariko remaining dead to the outside world. First, it acts as the inciting incident and legitimate justification for his future conflict with the other regents. Second, it provides motivation for John and removes tension within his vassals. Toranaga likely knows just how intimate Mariko and John's relationship had eventually become. When Mariko's husband accuses John of having an affair with Mariko, this likely did not surprise Toranaga, who was able to defuse the situation by forcing her husband to rescind his accusation when Mariko's life was put on the line. This sequence would simply have been more proof of something he more than suspected, that John cared deeply for Mariko. That's something that's extremely risky to Toranaga, since John has proven to be a wild card who has shown previously to do crazy things to get what he wants. Removing Mariko from the situation not only kept her husband in line, since there would no longer be an affair, but would refocus John to the greater cause by eliminating his other main priority. Now, his only allegiance could be to Toranaga, if it was anywhere at all. Yet, even still, it would be in Toranaga's interest to keep Mariko alive if he possibly could. She is both extremely capable and extremely loyal. She would know the importance of continuing to be dead to the world and not be stupid enough to jeopardize that. Toranaga would be able to time her reemergence later to best achieve his ultimate goals. He could use that time to have John build his navy and prepare to take the capital back. Once safely in power, Mariko could emerge like a phoenix and be used to later control John into getting what he wants from England or from John himself. The next culprit is Tsuji. In this situation, I could see Mariko having temporarily lost her memory and Tsuji deciding to hide her away within the Portuguese church. Suji definitely has a soft spot for Mariko, and there would be value in keeping Mariko alive for the church as potential leverage. In this case, the leverage would be for both Toranaga and for John, as they would both be interested in her release. Additionally, she could be used as a bargaining chip for Ishida. She could also potentially just be held captive by either Suji or the Portuguese church, but they would only reveal that at a later date. I want to believe that Mariko is still out there. The romantic in me wants her love story with John to continue, to know that their fate is not just as star-crossed lovers, but as more than that. Ultimately, I think the likeliest possibility is just that Mariko is dead, and that's all there is to it. But maybe, just maybe, she could still be out there. But what's the better story? Maybe until we see more, that's just for us to decide. Future Nick here, and I just want to say thank you if you've made it this far through the video. I really had fun making this video. I watched season 1 of Shogun and furiously went through the whole thing. The idea for the video came into my head immediately. I wrote it, recorded it, edited it, got all the way through it. And that was when I found out that Hulu's Shogun was not the first time Shogun was ever made. And in fact, that Shogun was actually based off of a book. So you put all of that together, and basically it made this whole video moot, because Mariko's definitely dead. Unless the showrunners decide to completely go away from the source material and do something completely different, it basically is guaranteed that Mariko is dead and died in that explosion. But I still had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun watching the video. I hope that my theory maybe sparked something in you, made you want to watch Shogun. It's a really great show, and they did a really good job with it. I'm looking forward to a season 2 if it ever comes out, and seeing where the story goes from here. Thanks for watching, and I guess you can take off the tinfoil hats. But maybe don't, because maybe she's still out there.